is there often a time that you actually incorporate some classical training into what you're playing for worship or
I think actual lines, no, but maybe technique wise, just
okay,
because I'm very comfortable. I'm not as good as I used to be. I'm not saying I was ever that good, but I'm not as comfortable as I used to be with
right,
classical because I can do hybrid picking I'm very comfortable with it.
right,
I never had the best right hand. I'm left-handed. So when I'm doing hybrid picking, I don't mind doing picking in my middle finger or just just fingering the pick and
yeah,
just
yeah,
finger style and
yeah,
just go. I'm fine with doing that. So
yeah.
using specific lines, no, but maybe it could have helped with the chord inversions because like buying those actually, yeah, it did because
Because your shapes, right?
the
Like,
shapes, yeah, correct. You learn like the
yeah,
shapes. You have to constantly work on different voicings. I remember when I was in college, I would literally do every single voice inversion of every chord possible. So I'll literally go on tab paper or like the neck paper and just okay, if I did
right,
C major seven on the third fret, this is what it looks like this. I know it's kind of hard, but it's like C major seven. If I do
right,
C major seven first inversion, it'll be like this. And that's personally my favorite chord. That's a beautiful chord. I highly recommend it if it learns it. It's C major seven
nice,
on the bass. Such a beautiful chord and
yeah.
you every single inversion, and that's how you start playing around with everything because that's taught classical because you have to truly utilize every inversion possible because you're playing the bass and the melody at the same time. So I think it would
Mm,
help a lot
that's a
if
good point, actually.
you have to play around with the chord inversion. It also helps with leading tones too. Like if I'm doing like back to In Jesus' Name, just because it has that C major seven, I'll go into that C major seven and then go to E because first inversion and it drops me back that because that's at three and goes back up to the
Right.
four.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's like it just leads into that
Leading
next
tone
chord.
meaning
Yeah.
like where it's going, like
Yeah,
or
exactly.
resolving on like the next chord or
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So that's the way I'll start looking at it.
yeah. Yeah, actually funny story, and I could show you later in the future, but when I was taught about inversions in school, I kind of went crazy with minor nines because, like, once you realize that, oh, if I just take these four notes and then I just shift them and then invert them, and for whatever reason, the minor nine shape that I would do from like the fourth string up, uh, the shape naturally is, it's open, but then once you like the next version is just like nuts, and then even the next one after that's nuts, and then the top 12th fret one is like it's insane to the point where I have to like bend the guitar straight up just to like do it for the most part, and but I used it in tons of stuff. It like became my minor sound when I was, I'm doing so many air quotes today. uh yeah, it became the minor sound that I don't think people would know me of, like, it's not like I had anything credible or something, but it was just one of those like, oh, when people hear me play this, I hope that they think of me, or they hear it in the future, maybe they think of me. But yeah, I wrote like songs in seven with the inversions, and I would just do this like weird, because I love progressive rock growing up, and they would always do that kind of stuff. So
Mm.
but yeah, inversions are weird because, like you said, the only times you really have to mess with the inversions for chords is, yeah, three, 1/3, or what is it, 5/7, in some cases. But yeah, or even the is it seven? There's a 5/7, yeah, 5/7. But yeah, there's only a few places that you have these crazy looking inversions, but I'd be curious to anyone in comments or anybody chimes in like, oh yeah, like when I learned it, this is what I would do with it, and blah blah blah, because I feel like you can just go down a rabbit hole, right?
Um,
Especially in classical, like classical is nuts with just shapes and
yeah, the fingering is extremely critical when you're doing
yeah.
classical because you want to have some notes ringing out. For example, it also gives a different timbre. If you play an
Mm-hmm.
open B opposed to the B on the fourth fret on the G string, that's a
Right.
way different sound. Or the seventh fret on the D string, it's a difference. It's same octave, technically same
Yeah.
octave, but just the sounds significantly different. and
Yeah.
open any open string is going to sound a lot sharper. Not like sharp in the sense like pitch wise, but it's not, like, it cuts through a lot more. Opposed, you play
Right.
the same exact note. So say for example, you have the open E, you play that same octave open E on the D or the A string, it's gonna sound not gonna cut through at all. It is,
Yeah.
but it's not cut through as much, and it just sounds a
And it
different,
won't ring.
sound
It won't
differently. Yeah,
ring
it won't
out,
ring.
you
Yeah,
know?
it won't
Yeah.
ring out as much because that vibration is so compressed, and you can hear it in the songs too. When you hear,
Right.
oh, that's an open chord, or that's an open note. He's playing it right here,
Right.
or they're playing it right here, and you can hear that chord. And
Yeah.
it takes time. It just takes time to hear those differences because before, like, dude, I hear no difference, nothing, nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And now it sounds completely different.
Yeah. Where the
Especially-
because I know the right side, right, had, they would tell you what finger to use for your
Yeah,
picking,
so
right?
even which so on both fingers, they'll tell you.
Oh, right, right, right.
So they'll tell
You're
you what bar, what fret to bar, what note's going to be string. Somebody do a partial bar and you have open strings behind it. It will also tell you what finger to pluck you on your right hand, like P, I, and
right.
A. So depending
Yeah.
what you're doing, that's the one you're plucking it with because that's the easiest one, setting yourself up for what's next.
Yeah.
Sometimes at the time there might be a really awkward fingering, but you have to suck it up because if you don't do that fingering, you won't be able to hit those leading tones that make the song sound good.
Yeah.
Just really.
Uh the one cool thing about classical and the fact that they do all that for you is it actually helps you know what the positioning is, right? Because a lot of times in church music, we'll hear a lead line, we might hear it be open, there might be an open note, but if there's not, then you've got what, like possibly three places you can play the same kind of like guitar part, right? And yeah, that's something I'm assuming they have charts that for lead guitar for church stuff, but I'm guessing hardly anybody knows, one, how to read it, but two, is probably not going to spend the money, through song select or praise charts just to see what they do. They'll just YouTube it.